Good morning and have a nice day. Today we are talking about fiction. Fiction means that a story is not real. Someone made it up. There is a difference between fiction and non-fiction, and the difference is that when you are talking about fiction, you are talking about the plot, the characters and the settings that are created by the author's imagination, means writer's imagination. They are not real, they are imaginative. And non-fiction refers to the stories that are based on events that actually happened in reality. The characters are real people too. It's a difference between fiction and non-fiction. It's very important to learn what is prose, what is fiction, and what is a novel. Prose, written language in its ordinary form rather than poetry. Any written language that is not poetry is called prose. And what is fiction? Literary works of imagination. Novels and stories that describe imaginary people and events. It is called fiction. And what is a novel? A long story in prose. Okay, it is called a novel. It's difference between prose, fiction and novel. Let's talk about some important factors. Protagonist and antagonist. Protagonist is the main character in the story. They are usually the hero at the end of the story, and antagonist is the bad guy in the story. They are usually in conflict with the. Let's try to understand some important points about fiction. There are two types of characters, protagonist and antagonist. The protagonist is the main character in the story. They are usually the hero at the end of the story. And the antagonist is the bad guy in the story. They are usually in conflict with the protagonist. Means there are two types of characters. First one is hero type and second one is villain type. And they have different traits. There are different elements of fiction like plot, setting, characters, conflict and theme. Without these elements, a fiction cannot be completed. A fiction cannot be written. There must be a plot, there must be settings, and there must be characters, and there should be conflict, and there should be a theme as well. What is character analysis? How can we analyze the characters by their actions, by their dialogues, by their feelings and emotions, and by their thoughts? And we can observe, we can guess, we can create all these things by ourselves. Let's have a look. The exposition is also sometimes known as the hook. Now we are talking about the story of the novel. It is very beginning part of the story. Okay, the beginning part of the story is called exposition, where the characters are exposed, where the characters are going to be introduced in the story. It is called, this part is called exposition. Then becomes conflict. What is conflict? Early in the story, the author will introduce the conflict or the problem. Okay, the writer introduces a problem in the second stage after introducing characters. After the introduction of character, there is conflict that is introduced by the writer. Then rising actions. Rising action refers to the events in the story that occur after the problem is introduced and lead up to the climax of the story. Now rising action means there is a sequence of events that is going upward towards the climax. And what is the climax? Very interesting part. The climax is the most exciting or surprising part of the story and is sometimes known as the turning point. Okay, we can also name it a turning point, a climax of the story. And it also surprises its readers. Falling action after the climax. What is there? Falling actions. Falling action refers to the events in the story that lead to the resolution or solution to the problem. Okay, means if everything was opening, now everything is going to be closed, everything is going to be resolved, there is the solution. And at the end of the Storymountain, we can see that there is a resolution. The resolution occurs at the end of the story. This is where the author provides a solution to the story and ties up any loose ends. Okay, it's the end of the story, it's the resolution of the story, and it's the you can say that every problem is solved here. Okay, Storymountain. Once again, you can see here plot structure, conflict, rising actions, climax, falling actions, and resolution. It's also the plot construction. And the events will occur in the same way. There will be introduction in the very first part, then there will be conflict, then rising actions, then climax, falling actions, and at the end there will be resolution. It is all about plot construction. Once again, we can check the points. Exposition, first part, introduction, it means conflict, problem, rising action, sequence of events, then climax, interesting, turning point, falling actions, problem solving, okay, and then end, a result, that is called resolution. Thank you very much. It's all about novel. If you have understood anything, please subscribe this channel. Allah Hafiz. Have a nice day. Enjoy reading fiction.